Jimmy Buckets. Man, I just made a video about his legacy not so long ago, back when I was in my AI era. Jimmy ever since then has gone on to become, let's say, weird. His already complex and hard to grasp legacy now is even more convoluted, with actions that can only, and yes Shaq, only be described as bratish and entitled. Jimmy has gone on to make a fool of himself, to be honest. A fool chasing a bag that he is self-destructing. The worst type of a fool. For you see, the problem with Jimmy that he is simply out of touch with reality. Say for instance, you work for a low-paying job, and after a year, you request a raise on the basis of you being the employee of the month a couple of times. The company decides not to give you that raise, which then yields two things. One, people rallying with you, as that job is insufficient to modern financial demands, and you earned a raise. Two, that if they're not valuing your labor, other companies would certainly and hopefully will. So just quit them. Yet in the Jimmy, give me money, Butler situation, none of those two elements apply. Jimmy is handsomely compensated by the company and is definitely not in any need of any type of a raise or increase, meaning it's not a necessity of any type. And he's not asking to be let go. By all means, if Jimmy doesn't want to be in Miami, which admittedly they have done him wrong a couple of times, Jimmy is ought to leave the franchise and no one would blame him. Yet, he isn't. He's basically a multimillionaire asking to be moved to a different company because he doesn't like their manager, all the while still being on the company's books until then. And if his demands aren't met, he'll not show up to work and still expect to be paid as if he was. In what world does Jimmy think people would understand or even fathom such actions? But unfortunately, this isn't the first time. When Jimmy was with the Timberwolves, we all remember his situation at practice. Most of us laugh at Cat, I'm light-skinned, that's why.
After all that.
And Andrew, yes, I'm still in the league, Wiggins. But few actually know why he did what he did. It was money. In one of Jeff Teague's podcasts, he talked about it and said that it was all about him not getting an extension with the team.
Like, it really was based off of Jimmy wanted to be paid. That's where it came from. Like, it wasn't about Cat, it wasn't about Wig, it wasn't about me, Taj, D-Rose, none of that. It was about him getting paid.
Thus, Jimmy has shown that he has tendencies to crash out if he didn't get his money. And maybe it was that situation with the Timberwolves that actually made him believe it's his best way to get the bag. But was it Jimmy? He was practically shunned by most media, and the 76ers picked him up for a year before letting him go. If it wasn't for the Heat, Jimmy would have been blackballed. So I ask again, Jimmy, is this the best way of chasing that bag? Or better yet, is all of this just for a bag? If indeed it was, let me just say, you went about it the wrong way, pal.
Basketball is still the game, and you should love the game for the game and not really worry about the financial part of it. It's going to take care of itself. So hopefully the big contracts don't take away for the love of the game and the way the fans perceive it.
Let's say Jimmy asked for that trade and made it public. However, instead of not playing or not showing up, Jimmy played his heart out for the remainder of games with the Heat up to the trade deadline. You know, Jimmy, what would have happened then? Heat fans before any would have been your greatest agent. They would have wanted you to stay and pressured the hell out of the organization to pay you your money. Better yet, the media would have made tricks on it just to get you signed. And if Pat, I'm totally not Mafia Riley, didn't get you that extension, teams would have lined up by the dozens to do so. Yet, here we are, aren't we? You chose money over the game, thus potentially you may lose both. So I ask you what I asked Zion before. How, Jimmy? How do you want people to remember you? Jimmy Buckets or Jimmy Quit It?